What's happening, people? Got another video for you. I'm gonna jump straight into it. I wanted to talk about just a few real truths that you need to kind of be aware of and kind of understand when you're starting this whole journey to, getting into shape. There's a lot of things that kind of get overlooked and that people don't really think about when they look to engage in like a new journey in their life. So to start off with, and I'm sure you've probably heard this before, is it's a marathon, not a sprint. This isn't something that you just implement into your life for 6 weeks. Now, when people talk about, it's a marathon, not a sprint, in a lot of cases they're referring to the results that you see and that you're trying to achieve. But there's a step before that. It's not just as simple as, oh, okay, I'll make more of an effort to eat a bit more fruit and veg when I go to the gym. The step before that is this. Your lifestyle at the moment probably needs like a complete overhaul. You need to change the way you look at food. You need to understand why you're exercising, the benefits of it, maybe even your attitude towards exercise as well, why you should implement certain things into your lifestyle, why you need to take certain things out of your lifestyle. All these different factors by themselves don't really amount to all that much, but it's the combination of each and every one of them, and when you put them all together, that's when the real difference is made. It's all well and good you want to start this new journey and implement all these changes, but it takes time to develop new habits and change certain behaviours and whatever else. Imagine you've got years of bad eating habits behind you. Why do you think those habits are just going to change overnight? Let's use the example of like smoking. So imagine you've been smoking for the past, 20, 30, 40 years, and you smoke 20 cigarettes a day. What are the chances that you're just going to wake up one morning and be like, right, I'm just going to not smoke cigarettes anymore and just completely stop overnight? Don't get me wrong, it happens, but that's the exception to the rule. But the general rule is it takes time. You have to gradually cut back on the cigarettes that you smoke on a daily basis. So you might start at 20, cut back to 10, and from 10 to 5, 5 to 3, and so on and so on. Same thing with lifting weights. I can, an example, I can overhead press 60 kilos. I would have never thought to even try that 3-4 years ago. I probably would have killed myself trying to do that. But I can do it now. But again, you build up to it. You start off 30 kilos, then 40, 45, and so on. So changing these habits that have been a part of your life for as long as 5, 10, 20 years, whatever, that takes time to, reverse or to stop and to implement new ones. You need to change so many aspects about your lifestyle to help cater to that overall change. Whether it's you're trying to lose fat or build muscle or whatever it is, it's more than just, oh, I'm going to do this for 6 weeks and then happy days. The next thing I wanted to discuss was the sacrifice and the consistency that is needed for you to achieve your goals. Now, this does depend on whatever it is your goal is, but generally, when you are choosing your goals or if you have certain aspirations, you need to be realistic about them. You need to understand that the bigger the goal or aspiration that you have, the greater the sacrifice and the more consistent you need to be. Let's use body fat percentage as an example. Let's say you want to achieve a body fat percentage of, somewhere around like 12, 15%. That's not really that difficult. You can be, relatively relaxed with your nutrition. You can, have the odd cheat meal here and there, little sweet snacks. But you compare that to something like trying to achieve a body fat percentage of 6%. Your margin for error is tiny in comparison to, that kind of 12, 15% range. Sweet snacks and treats and whatever, you haven't really got room for that. It forces you to be a lot stricter. If I could put it in, this is a bit overly simplistic, but just for the sake of an example, I think it kind of puts it quite clearly. If you imagine it as like a ratio, so let's imagine you're going down that kind of 12, 15% body fat route. Your ratio would be about 70-30, so 70% of the time, again, I'm just kind of plucking numbers out thin air here, but 70% of the time you're eating healthily, and then 30% of the time you're a bit more relaxed and you have little cheat meals and whatever else. But for something like 6% body fat, it's probably something more like 90-10, or maybe even 95-5. You know, it's much stricter. There's much less room for error. You have to be a lot more diligent and strict in your approach. So the sacrifice is greater, and you have to be a lot more consistent. When it comes to goal setting, your goal should be aligned with how much you're willing to sacrifice and how consistent you can be with those changes. Right, okay, third and final point here. It's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to hurt, and it's not always fun. Now, this is something a lot of people don't really want to hear. It's not a very good selling point, but it's true. It's just part of it, unfortunately. So, for example, you may step on the scales and not like what you see. Or when you look back at yourself in the mirror, you might not like what you see as looking back at you. The thing not to do is to shy away from it and pretend the problem doesn't exist and just hope it just kind of fixes itself. I know it's hard, but you do need to kind of just attack it head on, sort of thing. Because in a lot of cases, what usually will end up happening is you just dig yourself further into a deeper hole, and then you get to a point of, oh, this is almost impossible to kind of get out of, and I don't know where to start, and I don't know what to do, and you just keep spiraling down, basically. So yeah, it's not nice to have to face it, but you'll be better off for it if you face it early rather than later on down the line. Even with me, I had a bit of a turning point during the lockdown with my weight. You know, the weight started creeping up. I had a bit of a belly going. Like, it's not a good look for me, particularly as a personal trainer. Like, that is not a good look for somebody like me to have. The big turning point and what really started to make me feel uncomfortable, which I didn't like, was, it's gonna sound a bit silly, but it was my boxers. So, you know, like on boxers, you've got like the waist bit where the logo might be written, right? So I'm looking at my boxers like in the mirror. Now, they're supposed to say Calvin Klein, but where my belly was like pushing over like the waistband bit, it was covering part of the writing. So it read like Alvin Line. So you couldn't actually see it because it was all like half folded sort of thing. So like, that's not a good look. Okay, so it needed to be changed. And I didn't like looking at it. It didn't feel good when I might lean in a certain way and my boxers are like folding up because of my belly and whatever. But you just have to accept that, okay, you kind of put yourself in this position. What are you going to do to get yourself out of it? And you just go from there. And also when you're in the gym working out, you know, your muscles start burning and aching. It's painful, it's uncomfortable. It's the furthest thing I can think of from being fun. Similar sort of thing when you're doing cardio and you're out of breath and you're just kind of hanging on for dear life. Like, it's not always the most fun way to spend your free time. But again, you have to accept it as a necessary component to the journey. And again, this sort of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the whole, you know, understanding why you're doing what you're doing. You know, you need to see it as, I'm investing time and effort into this now, into my health now, into my fitness now, so that I'm not playing catch up later on down the line. I'm doing it now, so I don't really have to worry about it 10, 15, 20 years down the line, or, you know, whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, it doesn't always have to be boring or a chore to have to exercise or whatever else. It can be fun, and I think you should make it fun at times along the way, you know, to kind of help keep yourself going. But it's all about finding that balance. You know, there's a time to have fun, but there's also a time to work and to be serious. And, you know, it's another thing that I see too often. It's funny, okay, so I went to the gym the other day. I walked in roughly about an hour before closing. So I get there at roughly about 9 o'clock. I walk in and I see two women and they're talking to each other. And I didn't really think of anything of it. I just carried on, walked in, was working out. Come the end of that hour, those same two girls hadn't moved. They stayed in that same spot chatting for an hour, not working out, not doing anything. That's just a waste of time. So if you're one of these people that, you know, you go to the gym, you spend more time chatting to people, or you're on your phone, you're doing this and that, you know, you're not really putting in the work. Like I said, there's a time for fun, to have a chat, and to do this and to do that. But when you go to the gym with intent to do some proper work, to stay focused. And once you've got your work out of the way, then you can revert back to having fun or, you know, relaxing or whatever it is you want to do. But if you've got a goal, you need to work towards that goal. Otherwise, your progress is going to suffer because of it. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to kind of mention in this video. I think those are kind of like the main things to think about if you are looking to kind of start a new journey in life and you want to invest in your health and fitness, these things aren't really discussed. So it's just something for you to think about going forward, and just to better understand of what your journey is more likely to look like and to consist of. And if it doesn't consist of the certain things that I've discussed in the video, any results that you do see, more than likely, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's just more than likely it's not going to last for the long term, or you may find yourself giving up or just kind of falling off track. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, find it helpful, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff you know what to do, people, and I'll see you in the next video.